she's burning up. The knife must have nicked her kidney or something. She's turning septic. How you doing, little sister?
So stupid. It was this little kid. This goddamn little kid.
Big goddamn knife. Hey, help me.
Shit.
Hey, Mom. You want to be when we come through? We gotta get to the roof, flag down one of those choppers. All right.
Days Gone is the latest release in an impressively long line of exclusive IP for the PlayStation 4. Following on from the success of titles such as Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Detroit, Uncharted 4, Until Dawn, and so on, it's fairly plain to see that the PlayStation is having a pretty dominant console cycle, and now Days Gone is here to add to that landslide success. But the initial impressions across the board haven't been hugely positive. The game currently sits at 72 out of 100 on Metacritic, based on 99 reviews. Now that isn't a bad score at all, it's actually pretty good, but a solid chunk of major gaming publications such as IGN, GameSpot and Destructoid handed the game between 5 out of 10 and 6.5 out of 10 review scores upon release. I won't say my initial reaction to these reviews was one of shock. I'd watched the game with a keen eye since its initial announcement back at E3 in 2016, and back then I was excited, but several delays and 3 years later I was fairly sceptical, and I had a feeling I would be seeing less than stellar reviews upon the release. But I brought it anyway. My love of zombie games prevailed, and players within the community were telling me to ignore the reviews, so I did. And these are my initial impressions of Days Gone after roughly 6 hours of playtime.
Oh, come on, no more hospitals. You got doctors, you got triage, you got a MASH unit.
Oh, look, I'm just a grad student, okay? I got volunteered for this. I'm not even supposed to be out here, okay? Okay. Shit. I've only got room for 2 of you, okay? 2.
You got room for 2 of
You're overweight, okay? I can only take 2 of you, 2.
Come on, help me, come on. All right, sweetheart. It's okay. You're gonna be all right.
I got her.
I'm gonna be right back.
Days Gone opens with an introduction that leans very heavily into a vibe similar to The Last of Us. It manages to establish genuine characters, stakes and loyalties fairly quickly, and I was impressed straight out of the gate with the voice acting and motion capture. The faces are extremely detailed and go a long way to conveying believable emotion.
I'm serious, don't look at me. Don't look at me! Get on the bike! Oh, shit! Go, go!
Once you assume control of the titular character, Deacon St. John, or Deke to his friends, the game commits its first slight misstep. In Days Gone, one of the core mechanics and gameplay features is Deacon's connection and love of his motorcycle. It's your primary mode of transportation for traversing the world, it can be upgraded, and it plays into his biker gang backstory. But, as far as first impressions go, it doesn't leave a great one. I've come to enjoy riding around the world and exploring using Deacon's motorbike, but initially it's a little jarring to control. It feels like it's moving at no faster than 5 miles per hour, and the way it sticks to the road reminded me a lot of the first time I drove any vehicle in Grand Theft Auto 4. One thing this introduction does showcase, however, is just how pretty the world of Days Gone is. The forests look lush and sprawling, weather systems change as you play, rain might sweep in during a gunfight, and before you know it, what started as a slight drizzle has become a full-on downpour, obscuring your vision and changing the way the world looks around you. The attention to detail in this world around you is great, and it sits right up there with the rest of the PS4's recent exclusive back catalogue. From that initial impression, I can assure you that the bike becomes far less of a chore the more you play, and it actually contains one of the most divisive features the game has to offer. The bike takes damage from any jumps and bumps, and using it to traverse the map guzzles gas. This means you can't just hop on and ride around without planning your route to some extent. For some players, I'm sure this sounds like micromanagement hell, but for me it adds a layer of planning that I genuinely enjoy. I haven't once used the fast travel feature, and I will instead plot my routes to missions and points of interest via small towns and locations that I can loot for gas and a chance to fix my bike up before moving on.
Looks like the kind of place you want to call home, yeah.
A lot has been said about protagonist Deacon's characterization online, so I would be amiss to not mention my own impressions.
God damn it, what you all shit yourself at once? Jesus Christ. Oh, goddamn freaks. What the hell are you doing in here? Huh? Oh, this place is a death trap.
I actually enjoy the personality Deke has been given. He's pessimistic and frustrated, which given his circumstances is a pretty reasonable way to be. He's one of the only characters in my recent gaming memory that talks to himself almost constantly during the campaign, but it doesn't become frustrating. Personally, I buy into it. If I was wandering into a nest filled with zombies, I'd probably give myself a little pep talk too.
Catch! Getting kinda cold out here. Thought I'd help you out. Yeah, not bad.
The core story and gameplay loop for Days Gone so far involves carrying out bounties and fetch quests for 3 primary sources. You have your best friend Boozer, who feeds you info and missions via a radio, and then 2 rival camps where you can purchase guns, upgrades, and hand in any scavenged animal pelts or bounties you've collected on your travels. The mission structure is fairly standard open world game design. Go to this location, clear out the enemies, loot this item, bring it back to me. Or, tail this character, stay unseen, find out where they're heading. By now, if you've played any Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, or generally anything set in an open world sandbox, you'll know the drill. So far I've spent most of my time in game seeking out freaker nests to burn and clear out, thus making the map much safer to explore.
Alright. Fire in the hole. God, you like that? Huh? Come on, you sons of bitches, come on!
Although the game contains human enemies and rival biker gangs that you fight along your travels, the real stars of the show here in Days Gone are the freakers, the shambling undead that plague the world and stand in your way at every turn. Since its reveal back in 2016, the game has been very aware of its main selling point. To put it plainly, it chucks a huge amount of zombies at you at any one time and challenges you to fight or run. As an avid horror fan and someone who loves the zombie genre, it's invigorating to see a horde of freakers charging towards you whilst you scramble to figure out if it's worth taking them on or turning tail and getting the hell out of there. More often than not, running away is the right thing to do. You're awarded XP for taking down one of these hordes, but in the early game I never seem equipped to properly take down such a mass of undead enemies. Taking down one freaker can be as simple as spamming the melee button, but taking down a whole pack? That's a very different matter, and Days Gone does a good job of making these encounters and the idea of tackling them feel tense. The combat in Days Gone is simple, effective and a little bit clunky. Melee combat is the real MVP, using planks of wood, baseball bats, fire axes and the like to dispatch zombies and human foes is a real treat. Animations are crisp and brutal, and melee combat like this is all pulled off by using one single button. Gunplay on the other hand feels a little inconsistent. Aiming feels a little slippery, and against the freakers guns feel hugely underpowered, unless you can miraculously pull off a headshot against one of these sprinting, flailing monsters. Against the human enemies within the game, it's a much more viable option, as they give you just that little bit more time to take cover and pick them off from a distance.
Hold on for a second now. Where's the stash, Leon? If you tell us, well, unlike you, I can promise you we'll make it quick. Don't look like you'd be suffering for too long. Leon, You got a little problem here. See, they can smell your blood from all the way down there. What do you suppose that feels like? Huh? Torn apart? Eaten alive?
Days Gone definitely feels like a jack of all trades and a master of none, and I don't mean that in an overly negative way. I simply mean it tries to do an awful lot instead of just focusing in on the things that make the game great. Additions like a Batman Arkham style detective mode doesn't really add anything to the core gameplay loop, and things like raising the trust level of the two rival camps doesn't actually impact the story. It's just a way to lock guns and upgrades behind a progression system. Early on, for example, you're given a choice to deliver a stash of drugs to a camp of your choice, but it's no spoiler to say that this has no weight within the context of the game and the story. It simply exists as a way to boost the camp's trust level quickly to give you access to either a shiny new gun or an upgrade to your bike. The game also throws in light RPG elements, upgrade systems, basic environmental puzzles, collectibles and stealth sections for good measure. It really does juggle a lot of different mechanics, each to varying degrees of success. I'm currently having a ton of fun exploring the world, clearing out freaker nests and just generally taking in how pretty this game is, but I can see why it hasn't clicked with everyone in the same way God of War, Spidey or The Last of Us did. This game, although it would lead you to believe it wants to be like The Last of Us during its emotional cutscenes, has far more in common with something like Far Cry, and for the right person that's not a bad thing. I for one love getting lost in a huge open world with plenty of fun little tasks to do, but with so many open world games of that ilk dominating the medium, it's easy to see how gamers could be fatigued with this kind of title. There are clearly undeniable issues. The load times are too long and slightly too frequent. Cutscenes are great, but they pull you out of and place you back into gameplay in a far too abrupt fashion. Filling your motorcycle with gas will be a massive negative for some, and for others the open world may not offer enough compelling reasons to explore it. But for the right person, myself included, who's looking for a well-realised world to explore and some great ad hoc terrifying moments to face head on, Days Gone will tick all the right boxes. Sure, it's not perfect, but as far as open world survival games go, it's a pretty decent one. And if it can knuckle down on all the things it gets right, we'll be treated to a fantastic sequel somewhere down the line.
Come on!
Overall, I'm definitely enjoying my time spent with Days Gone, and I look forward to getting stuck back in and clearing out some more freaker-filled nests. Were the critics too harsh? In my opinion, yes, some of them were, but the overall Metacritic score of 72 out of 100 is a pretty spot-on representation of the experience I'm having so far. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. If you like the look of everything in this video, please check out Days Gone. I'm having a great time with it. And if you enjoyed listening to me ramble on, please drop me a like and hit subscribe to stay up to date with all my future content. Until next time guys, take care. See you later. Bye.
What did you do?